Hey everyone, it is Clint. Welcome to Sweetcast. This is really funny because on the same day that your boy Zach posted this video, discussing the October 2019 Comic-Con sales figures, and he actually said that things were looking up. He had an optimistic look in general. You can see I didn't watch the whole video, but the bottom line was that this did very, very well. This month did great. It sold well, and not just in general, but also and especially on graphic novels. One thing I've always appreciated about your boy Zach is that he is very fair. He gives you his perspective. He has an opinion, of course. I mean, we're not under some kind of illusion that he's entirely unbiased. He's biased for sure, but he is fair from his perspective. And I see him do this all the time. He'll talk about even books that are written by, someone like Mark Waid or Gail Simone, and he'll give them credit where credit is due. And in this case, he's giving credit to the comic book industry as a whole where credit is due. Now, I've heard the complaint many, many times that, a lot of people are on YouTube just griping about the death of the industry because they want the industry to die, or they want the clicks from the industry is dying and that whole narrative. Now, that would be true if when things are getting better, things are doing well, you continue to beat the whole failure drum. Now, 1 month does not mean anything, right? 1 month means nothing. It is a good sign, though. Perhaps if it means anything, it means that there's a sign of that there's, currently in 2019, there's a possibility of selling comics better than comics have sold in the past. So if this becomes a trend and if numbers start to go up and it seems like they hit some kind of attraction, that is a great thing. And part of this is, and again, like your boy Zach says, is that there's just better writing. There's some better comics that are getting out there. I know there have been a lot of trash over the past few years, and so to see some at least attempts in getting some better quality books out there, that is not hurting. And I can tell you, just for me personally, I have purchased a lot of comics. I've spent a lot of money on comics in October 2019, though most of that money was actually spent on graphic novels. So there you go. I might as well just be predicting how comic sales go. Maybe I should just buy more comics in general. All right, so at the same time, same day that he posts that out, we have this coming out from Bleeding Cool. It says, does the comic industry need disrupting too? Now, the lag on recognizing the troubles in the comic industry is astounding on Bleeding Cool's part. Here we go. I'm going to jump into this. There are 3 points made here, and I've made videos like what this article is trying to do in basically making some prescriptions on what I think would be best for the comic book industry. So it is nice to always see a different point of view. This one's by Reese Gaida. Reese says, since the comic crash of 1996, the industry has sagged. The market is there, but sales are low. I'm going to add, except for when they're not low, right? Yeah, they've always been down from the 90s. They've always been, they go down, they go up, they go down, they go up. That kind of stuff happens. Currently, we're in a very low, very low, except for obviously this last month was pretty good. All right, Reese continues. Estimated North American market size for print comics has grown 50.3% between 1997 and 2018, from 500 million to 995 million. Now, what's not being accounted for here, at least I don't think, is inflation. And yes, even from the 90s, there is inflation. And when you start talking about those kinds of numbers, it does have quite a big bit of impact. Despite all of these potential buyers, unit sales from the top 300 comics for each month fell by 22.76% between 1997 and 2018. Now, this is funny because we can look at the same graph. I don't know how well you can see that. Maybe I should make this bigger. Oh, I should have done that a long time ago. We'll make this bigger. All right, now we got Clorox ads in the way. All right, so there's the graph here, 1997 all the way up to 2018. When you look at it in a whole, it actually doesn't look all that bad. I know there's a big old drop here, but it does actually come up and down and up and down, like I explained before, and currently is on a pretty steep decline. All right, let's see what else. Reese has to say. He goes on. Venture capital bros are unlikely to swoop in and disrupt the market with tech that was born yesterday, and that's for the best. That means comic publishers, distributors, and shops must reinvigorate their business, but are online shopping and delivery the answer? Well, it doesn't matter if it's the answer. That is what is happening, and that is what is coming. Even more of what is coming. That's just the truth. I can tell you, I went to my comic shop last week. It was last week. I went there and I looked through their graphic novels because I've been interested in getting some graphic novels. They had literally zero of the books that I wanted, and they were actually older books out of print. I've been trying to catch up on some other things and get some classics and things like that, and so they weren't there. They had other books, close to it, but not quite. And so what else do you do? Well, you go online to buy those books, because I'd rather get the books than not get the books. For a lot of people, they don't have a comic shop close to home. Maybe you're one of those people. That could be the case. It could also be that you are a regular human being that enjoys convenience. Maybe you don't like going to a store, going out of your way to go to a comic book shop to get the latest thing, when you can just buy it, use your phone, buy it online, and it'll show up in your house a couple of days later. That is convenient, and that is, I don't know why this doesn't get talked about more often. That is the cold, hard reality that is happening everywhere. It's not just comics. It is happening in every kind of retail space that exists. So rather than pushing against it and trying to swim against the stream, against the current, I honestly think it'd be better to start to think of ways to swim with it and realize that things are changing. How can comic shops utilize that? What can you do to make it make a little bit more sense for people and be a little bit more convenient? Now, I'm not going to pretend to have all the answers, and apparently Bleeding Cool does not either, because this is the advice. Comic shops keep selling expertise. Now, this right here, it's not really a red flag, but this is something that happens frequently when there are no answers. It is just keep doing what you're doing, right? Keep selling expertise. Now, if there was something within comic shops' power that they could do to change things and really turn the entire industry around, then there would be a whole list of suggestions for comic shops. Every time I see something like this that just says, comic shops, keep doing what you're doing, we love you, that is essentially the kiss of death. That is a warm hug goodbye, because there's nothing within your power, or at least Bleeding Cool, I think so here. There's nothing in your power. And so, if the selling point is expertise, and that is going to be how you compete with selling on the internet, honestly, I don't think that this is fair at all. I think that's not good, because you can actually get a lot of expertise online. You can very quickly find everything you need to know about a comic series, about what book you should be buying, what the reading order is. All of this kind of stuff exists online. And so I actually don't think that that's a selling point for comic shops. But you can talk to a living, breathing human being and get advice on comic books, or where they think you should start and all that kind of stuff, and build a relationship. There are a lot of great things about comic shops, but to call expertise the one thing that you have to sell that does not exist elsewhere, I don't know. I don't really think I'm on board with that. Here's the next suggestion. Diamond distributors, be better. Wow. And it is obviously a little bit more complicated than that. That is actually just the heading for this section. But in a nutshell, that's what it is. And so he does go over some of the pitfalls he calls diamond distribution, one of the biggest scapegoats for the industry going wrong. And I think that is deservedly so for much of the case. He does make the case for returnable comics. That would also make a big difference. Honestly, I think that the problem really goes beyond Diamond as well. Things are absolutely changing. The distribution model doesn't make a lot of sense, and he also points out that they're not making very much money per book. It's like 2 cents, I think, something like that, per book or per dollar sold. But, all right, let me fix that entire thing. Diamond takes in about 5 to 10 cents for every dollar. And that pays for warehousing, distribution, salaries, insurance, etc. And I will add, though, that Diamond essentially is, the only show in town. So because they're doing everything, they're doing all the sales, they're making all of the money that is to be made through comics, at least if it's going through the direct market, then that's actually significant that they've got a piece of just about everything. Publishers are taking 40 cents to the dollar. And I don't know, depending on the publisher and how many books you sell, that's not necessarily a terrible thing. Just you need more sales. And then stores are taking, I guess, the most, really. They're getting a 55% discount. And that is up to 55%, meaning that they're getting half, if not more, just a little over half of all of the profits that are running through. Now, what you're missing here, though, is that comic shops aren't selling through. So while they technically have the lion's share of the profit, in theory, that is if they sell every book. They're also shouldering all of the risk, no returnability, and that is on purpose. I'd much rather have 10% of 100% of the sales running through, as opposed to 55% of what may or may not actually be sold. Or at least it's a safer route to go. All right, and then here is the comment for publishers: keep weekly releases, but release more box sets. This I thought was the best suggestion of the three. I completely agree with this. I tell you, I ordered, and I think he brings up the same exact point. Yeah, TKO Studios. I purchased 2 things from TKO Studios. I'm still waiting for it though. To arrive. I bought a box set, and I also bought the trade paperback so I could compare the two and read them and review them, but I'm still waiting. All right, so a lot of this is sort of tying everything back to the new way that people like to consume entertainment media, and that is the convenience of your home. It is binging, getting everything in completion, binging it, and then moving on to something else. I have to admit, I quite like this. That's how I like to watch television shows. I'll usually watch, like if I'm catching up on The Walking Dead, I'll watch everything and catch up on an entire season within about a week's period of time, and then I'm done. On the other hand, you know what is really annoying? When I go to the comic shop and I'm getting a series. I found out about what was it? Ninja Turtles and Batman, the crossover series, mini series. There's 6 issues. I got the first 4, but I don't have 5 and 6, and so I have to go into the store and special order them and get them shipped in, brought into the store, so I can just finish the rest of the series. Getting all 6 issues together in a box set, that's pretty great because you don't have to be getting in it at an early point in time. I think this often gets forgotten. Yes, pull list exists, but that means that you've got to be aware of something that's coming. It doesn't make things very convenient for a new reader that walks into a comic shop and says, hey, what do you have going on? Oh, here's some things that have come out in the last 6 months that you might find interesting, or the last year for that matter, especially if it's a new reader. There's a lot of books out there. And so being able to go and be able to get the entire 6-issue run all there in a box set, that is pretty impressive. I like the idea a lot. But again, I want to play with it a little bit more to see how much I like it. All right, now if we're looking at sales here, graphic novel sales have increased, and it seems like single issue sales increased a little bit, but really graphic novels jumped up quite a bit, which is great because graphic novels, generally speaking, once in their heyday, at least according to this graph, it was saying since 2013, they were doing more money, making more profit than single issues. If I look at the single issues, genuinely stay a little bit closer, similar. They have ups and downs, obviously. But it's really the graphic novels that have been a little bit more, volatile. So having strong growth in graphic novels that's really good. That's great. At the end of the day, I think, we agree on a lot of things. I'm glad that Bleeding Cool is recognizing that there are some serious problems in the industry, and at least the industry needs some disruption. I think honestly what it needs is innovation and new ideas, new people willing to try new things, getting books to customers, finding new customers. Keep hearing this idea all the time that there's this fixed number of comic book customers. I don't believe that that's true. I believe that there's a lot of potential customers out there that have either never bought comics or they haven't bought comics in a really, really long time. And it would take something for sure, but I'm not sure how much it would take to bring brand new readers in. I think part of that would be giving them something that they can jump into without having to know 30 plus years of comics history in order to enjoy a character. So let me know what you think in the comments below. I'm sure there's some great ideas on how to help things out with the comic book industry. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And if you enjoy this content and if you enjoy comics, I strongly suggest joining my mailing list. It is in the description below this video, and you can get access to the secret perks and discounts. And yeah, I promise not to spam you. I send very, very few emails through that mailing list. So yeah, please do join. Thank you very much, and I'll see you next time.